What's up guys, it's Collin from Built2Wander. I'm in my home garage today with our Ford Bronco and our 392 builds. I even have a table behind me with some gear laid out as we're planning for our annual trip to Moab, Utah for the Easter Jeep Safari. I thought this would be a great time to dive into some of the vehicle maintenance that we do ahead of an off-road trip to prepare our vehicles, and also some of the gear we bring with us to make sure we're prepared for any situation that we may encounter while out on the trail. Before we dive in, like this video, subscribe to the Driving Line channel, and let's get after it. Spring is in the air here in Colorado. It's mid-60s, the weather's getting nice, which means one thing: Easter Jeep Safari is around the corner. This is really our first big trip of the year this year, and we've been going every year for 7 years. We can't wait to go back. And as we prepare for the trip, we're getting the vehicles dialed in, and we're also pulling together some of the critical equipment that we bring with us to be ready for that off-road adventure. And so oftentimes people ask us, well, what do you bring to an off-road trip, and what types of things should you have on the trail? How do you get your vehicle in shape for an off-road adventure? And so I thought it'd be a great time to go through that since we're in the middle of doing that ourselves. Now, what we're gonna do first is talk about vehicle maintenance, vehicle upkeep, things like tires, brakes, wear items, fluids, and just a general retorque check-in to make sure nuts and bolts are tight. And then we'll go into the equipment. So we've got kind of 4 different buckets here. We've got onboard air, communication and radios. We've got recovery equipment and also tools, all things that we like to bring with us on any off-road trip. So why don't we go ahead and dive in with vehicle maintenance first. When it comes to preparing things for your off-road adventure, you should start with your vehicles. Now, a few of the things that we look out for are some wear items such as tires and brakes, making sure that your tires are in great shape, that your brakes don't need replaced. When it comes to tires, we've got a set of 37-inch Nitto Ridge Grapplers here. Now these are relatively newer tire, maybe around 5,000 miles or so on them. But I'm gonna do a visual inspection and make sure that there's nothing sticking into the tread, such as a nail or a splinter or staple or some sort, something we may have picked up on the road. Fortunately, our newer vehicles, they've got the TPMS tire pressure monitoring system on the dash, so we can tell that all the tires are holding air. And that they're in relatively good shape, but I will probably try and do a nice tire rotation before we leave for the trip, just to maintain that even wear on all of our tires. As far as other general maintenance and upkeep, things like checking fluids, we're gonna wanna make sure that we're up to date on oil changes, make sure that our gear oil is good in the differentials. We got plenty of trans fluid. We're gonna check coolant, windshield wiper fluid, just basically going through, doing a general top off on all the fluids. And then lastly, anytime you build a vehicle, and even if it were, say, a stock Jeep, just going through doing a retorque before you head out for the trail. Last thing you want to do is get on the trail, have something come loose, potentially cause a failure on the trail. If you do a retorque, you can oftentimes avoid a lot of that, or even identify some areas that may need a little bit of work or rehab ahead of that trip. So fortunately, we've got our guys down at 3D Off-Road, Matt Thompson and his team in Colorado Springs. They help us with all of our vehicle maintenance. In fact, our Jeep LJ's down there now getting ready for Easter Jeep Safari. So those guys help out a ton, and I'd encourage you to find that local shop you can trust to help you with some of that maintenance. Certainly, if you've got the tools in the garage space, there's no harm in doing it yourself in your own space. But we enjoy having Matt's team there and trust them to help us get those things done. And it really gives us a peace of mind as we head out for those trips. So moving on from vehicle maintenance, we'll talk about some of the critical equipment and different pieces of gear that you need to bring with you for your next off-road adventure. Now that we have the vehicles dialed in and ready for our off-road adventure, I wanted to dive into the equipment that we bring with us as well. starting with onboard air. So we've got a 15-pound power tank. We put one of these power tanks in every one of our vehicles for airing up after hitting the trail. This happens to be our tank for the 392. We went with the 15-pound tank because we're running a 42-inch tire, so this just has a little bit more capacity, which allows us to get around and air up all 4 of those 42-inch tires under the Jeep. But what we love about the power tank is they fit right in the back of our vehicles, really easy. They have a ton of different mounting solutions, but they make airing up on the trail such an easier job. So no longer do you need one of those slow air compressors where your whole group's waiting on you to get off the trail. You come down a trail, you grab your power tank, and we can air up a 42-inch tire or a 37-inch tire like we have here on the Bronco within minutes. So it makes the job a lot easier. But in addition to the tank, you want to make sure that it's been maintained, make sure that it's still certified for use, and also that it's got a full tank of air before any of your off-road trips. You also want to make sure you've got your air hose, your tire inflator, your regulator. Those are the critical components that will allow you to actually air up those tires. In addition to the power tank, we also have a tire repair kit from Power Tank. This has all kinds of different tools and plugs for basically fixing a flat when you're on the trail. Now, fortunately, we haven't had to use these with any of our Nitto tires over the years, but we have used them for other folks on the trail. And so it's good to be prepared because it might not always be your vehicle that needs service, but sometimes you can really play a part in helping somebody else get off the trail and back into town where they can get a more significant repair completed. So onboard air, it's great to have, and we never take any off-road adventure without it. So we talked about airing up with the power tank. What we haven't touched on is airing down. So we've got this air down device from RockJock. It screws onto your valve stem and it pulls out the core, allows you to dump air and check the pressure as you're doing so. So we always bring one of these with us as well. Not everybody will have an air down tool, and it can, there's a lot of benefit to airing down on the trail. Gives that tire more profile, allows those Nittos to really work well in off-road environments. And so we like having this air down chuck, and we'll allow others to use it if they need it. It's just good to have one in the group. Moving on from air equipment, we've got some rugged radios. So communication is key in all aspects of life, but especially on the trail, and having some radios makes that communication simple, easy, seamless. So we have a radio for every one of our vehicles, and we also bring some extras so that if there's anyone in the group that might not have a radio, we can give them one for the trail. It really just makes it easy being able to call out obstacles on the trail or keep everybody on the right path, making sure nobody misses a turnoff, making sure people get to the trailhead and get back from the trailhead safely and effectively. One thing I will say is Rugged Radios, has these nice carrying cases. So we put all of our chargers and everything in there, but make sure you bring your charger. We try to charge everything up before we hit the trail, and then we'll do so, each night after the trail or ahead of the next day. So make sure you do bring your chargers because radios are no good if they're dead out there. So moving on from communication equipment, we've got recovery equipment. So we've got a recovery kit from Factor 55. We've got one of their kinetic tow straps here. Inside the recovery kit, there is a guide to winching. So if you're new to recovery, this will walk you through how to winch properly. There's also tons of different gear in here that are really helpful to use for any recovery potentially. We've got a tow strap, we've got some tree savers, some soft shackles, some different gear in here that we like to have with us. And again, you might not need this for yourself, but we've definitely been on trail rides. It's bound to happen. Somebody gets stuck between a rock and a hard place, or maybe breaks a component, can't get out on their own power. So having some of this gear will really allow you to help others in need and keep that trail ride moving or get somebody off the trail safely. So Factor 55, again, all this stuff is made right here in the USA. Really solid recovery equipment. One thing I will say is, it's really helpful to have at least one of these in your group. You don't have to have one in every vehicle. We carry one amongst the few vehicles we bring. But before you head out on the trail or you're getting ready for your trip like we are, do a visual inspection. Actually look at your ropes. Make sure that there's no fraying or anything that looks off. This is a brand new rope, so we know we're good to go, but we've used our tow strap quite a bit in the past, so I'll unravel this. I'll give it a nice look once over, make sure that nothing jumps out at me, and make sure that this thing is good to go for the next use. Last but not least, a toolkit. So we've got a ratchet and wrench set here. We bring this along with some other odds and ends that we know we need for our vehicles. One thing I will suggest, if you're doing a retorque at home or you're going through your vehicle and tightening up some nuts and bolts, go through and make a list on pen and paper of what tools you used when you completed that. That will help to ensure that you have the right tools for your trip. So oftentimes we'll get out there, maybe you're wheeling, you're putting your vehicle in different stressed environments and doing things that you don't normally do on the road every day, and things will come loose. So it's just really helpful to have some extra tools to be able to tighten those things on the trail, or to be able to help if somebody breaks a component, needs to pull something off. Just having tools goes a long way, and will definitely get used amongst your group without a doubt. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage today. Appreciate you guys following along as we prepare for our annual trip to Moab, Utah for the Easter Jeep Safari. I hope you find this helpful as you plan for your next off-road adventure, whether it be vehicle maintenance or general upkeep, or some of that critical gear and equipment you should bring with you for your next trail run. Drop me a comment below, let me know what gear you bring with you. Maybe there's something we're missing. And as always, hit the like button if you did, and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.